Welcome to another edition of Diary of a Wannabe Comedian with me, Belle, a wannabe comedian. I have to apologise, it is so hot. I've got to have the aircon on, I'm afraid. I can't turn it off. So since I last spoke, I have done 2 gigs, both of which were 7 minutes. I could have actually done longer, but I was aiming to have a 7-minute set. And both were quite similar, actually. They were non-bringers, so the audience was largely other comedians. The one on Tuesday was actually, it's run by a guy that I started stand-up comedy with. I did my very first gig with him. So that was amazing to see him because I genuinely haven't seen him for years. It was interesting to do because it was the first time I've started, basically, go back to the beginning, Belle. I've basically started writing a little bit about my back. Now, they're quite cheap gags to start with because, I'm not that sophisticated at writing comedy, but I hope to get better. And I'm just going to make sure that I get laughs at the moment. So I've started doing it because this is all to do with, ideally I'd like to do an Edinburgh show. That's the aim. So I'm going to try and build it up in 5-minute slots. So if I can get 5 minutes by the end of the time, hopefully by the time I finish doing Jeff's course on back-related material, that'll be a massive win. For now, I just did 3 or 4 gags, I think it was. And I think people enjoyed it. And then I did the same material the next day. And people liked that the most. Now, I've got to reconcile with myself me saying jokes about having scoliosis and people laughing and finding it hysterical. I have to reconcile that with myself because obviously that was certainly a lot of my childhood and not for good reasons. So that's for me to deal with, but it shows to me that there's got some legs and nobody kind of went, because I always have people say, there's nothing wrong with you, I would never have noticed. But the reality is when you're standing on a stage and you're telling jokes like that, people are going, yeah, I knew there was something about you. So actually I think it's a positive thing. So I'm going to keep going with that. But I am a bit concerned that people really enjoyed that because it was fresh and maybe it's the way I delivered it. And the old stuff, perhaps I'm boring when I deliver it now. Oh my God, there is so much to learn with stand-up comedy. So many facets and factors, but then I've discussed that before. I've got another 7 minutes over the weekend, tomorrow in fact, so I will probably try and write one more new joke, I think, put in there, because it's not quite 7, and also this is a friend who's running this gig, so I'm sure he'll let me go over slightly, fractionally. I think he'll let me get away with that, but I think I might try and I must try and write a new joke every time. I've now got a great section where I can drop anything in that I want. One sort of joke that I could drop, maybe a callback to someone else's set, or a new joke that I've written, because I make reference basically to a magazine article, and that could be anything, couldn't it? I did a tiny bit of ad-lib at the beginning of both of them, and I think that went down well. I think it settles me more than the audience, before you launch into your stuff. I have to say the niche knee joke is probably going to get cut because it just doesn't get the laughs. Either that or I need to tell a precursor that kind of sets it up and explains what's coming, because I still believe in that joke. It's to do with the I shouldn't laugh, but it's to do with Titan. Titan that imploded several months back. Now that was made of titanium and carbon fibre. Well, my new knee is made of titanium and polyethylene. So I just make a quip about they offered me the new one of titanium and carbon fibre, but I said no because I want to go swimming. That's essentially it. Now there's usually one person in the audience that gets it, and that's fine, I can deal with that. But last night and the night before, no one got it, and it's like maybe it's time for that to go, or as I say, maybe it needs a bit more setup. So that was my 2 gigs. I am officially now up to 66 gigs, so I'm very happy about that, and I'm working out how to get to 100 now by the end of the year. As you know, my only desire really is to get to 50, and I'm about 18, I think, short of 50 this year. So that's all I need to do to have actually achieved my goal. But my stretch goal now, I think, should be the 100, because I just think as soon as I reach 100, psychologically, I'm going to be a different person. The very fact that I've told myself this means that I am. Anyway, I am off now to see Matt. We are going out for some drinks and nibbles with a little crowd that he knows, and I have now been invited into that crowd where what's the best way? They sort of mentor you in all things cabaret. So I'm kind of looking forward to working with these guys and seeing what they can do for my comedy. Speak to you Monday. Much love and gratitude.